Hi guys, it was very nice to see you at the workshop. I put together a small gift for you, 10 top tips for beginners for successful painting. You will see how to get started, how to rescue some of the disaster canvases, and how to just have fun through the entire process. Enjoy! The first tip is to paint what you love. When deciding on a subject, pick something you like, something you know really well, and you can access easily. You will observe, sketch, photograph, and ponder, and then you will paint. For some people, it's the mountains, or the flowers, or the sea. It's the best starting point to discover the wonderful world of painting anything you want if you start with something that you know well. To the left is a seascape of Portugal, and it's a painting based on photos, and most of all on many memories of the Atlantic coast and its lights, of all that salty spray in my mouth and the pebbles between my toes and the sun-warm rocks that I perched on with my sketchbook. So I can paint it now from photos because I know the coast really well. The second tip is having what I call a mad canvas. You can avoid messing up a painting that is going pretty well by practicing first on a mad canvas. This is a spare canvas or a watercolor paper to try all things new, quirky, and the possible variations on it before making any mark and possibly making a mess on your real painting. So this way you can try new color combinations without any negative repercussions, learn to work with new tools, and experiment doing shapes you have not done before. So if you wonder how to paint a leaf or petals and you haven't done before, branches, windows, people, really anything, you can find more than one way to paint them. When you are satisfied with the result, you found something, a way to do it that you like, then you carry on painting. The third tip is to go from large to small with the composition, as well as with the tools you use. So you start by laying out the bulk of the composition. This is blocks of color broadly placed. Large shapes first, then medium, then small. This is really a map. It will help you navigate your canvas later. Mark all important composition items, but don't worry about fine details. Above all, don't draw. Just blob instead. Take it easy. And it's a fairly quick stage, so you are basically thinking with that sponge in hand. Tip number 4, don't copy. Just because something is there, that's not reason enough to paint it. Pick the best of what's in front of you and discard the ugly and boring bits. Then just because something is really that color or that size, such as a blue sky or a green grass, if there is a way, there is an interesting alternative to the obvious, then please go for it, especially if it serves the composition better, which usually it does because it makes things much more interesting. Tip number 5, take a break. If you don't know what to do next, well then, just don't. When you keep asking what else and draw a blank, your mind is just too tired to make decisions. It's time to take a break from that piece. This might be just a 15-minute coffee break or a 2-year break during which you learn a lot more about painting, and then you can come back to it 150 canvases later. So giants of fine art have done this, and it's fine for you to do that too. Paint when your mind is refreshed and you are inspired. And by the way, there is a way to find inspiration without waiting for the kiss of the elusive muse. Tip number 6, wonky is fine. If you are one of the people who says, I can't draw a straight line to save myself, then you are in the right place. Relax. Nobody's interested in straight lines. Curvy, tilted, winding, trailing lines, they all add interest and they guide the viewer's gaze around the canvas. Don't correct your lines and outlines. Let them be, move on to the next shape. You can correct the next layer if you must. Tip number 7 is about painting outdoors. Yes, you get immersed, you get overwhelmed, and you can only make a mess for sure. But boy, what you take home is the best material ever. No matter how messy, your outdoor sketch is filled with goodies. The effects of sun and wind and seagulls, the whole dynamic experience is a heap of invisible ingredients, and they will stir you up in the right direction when you paint from them later. So you can start in friendly weather and well-known terrain with just a basic kit. Once you become properly addicted, watch out, it is an addictive activity, you carry on in rain and hailstorm against mosquitoes or just long after the sunset when you no longer see the colors. It's a bit silly, but it's a really great experience. Tip number 8 is taking charge of your artistic freedom. Artistic freedom is a license to create your own wild, wonderful world. One that has its own organizing principles, its own rules, and is inspired by, but is not ruled by or measured by, reality. So feel free to move and change things and not tell anyone. You can declutter and smudge backgrounds, pretty much smudge anything you want, add or fill up foregrounds, multiply details where you want more attention. If there are not enough flowers somewhere, go ahead, add a few more. You can change the color of things or ramp up nuances of color you see. You can move lampposts out of the way. You can banish rubbish bins that are really there, but you don't have to paint them. You can decimate trees because you surely don't want to paint the whole forest 3 by 3 by 3. You can add things that are not there, but they should be. And you can remove everything that is unimportant or outright distracting. Now, tip number 9 is about unpainting. Overdoing is the death of a painting. It happens all the time. You can resurrect those works by unpainting them. So be brave and knock back anything that doesn't serve the purpose of your work, which is the subject, the reason why you paint. Or if something doesn't, just a clutter and confuses the composition. Picasso said that art is the elimination of the unnecessary, and he was a master at this. Not every mark belongs there, however successful or pretty. Eventually, you want to get to the point where every brushstroke counts. But for now, just wipe off or paint over the ones that do not belong there. Tip number 10 is how to get inspired and how to stay inspired. So there are 3 ways, and I recommend you try all of them. A combination of the 3 is the best. The first way is to experiment on your own. Paint as often as you can, everything you can. Just try your hands at it all the time. Then consider what went well, what went not so well, and most of all, why. That pondering, that thinking before, during, and after the painting session, it is time well spent. Indeed, you can count it as painting time. And the second way is to visit museums and exhibitions. Not just famous ones, but even local smaller exhibitions where you see paintings that are surely not so super great. Number 1, it makes you feel good about your own work. Number 2, you can often learn a lot from other people's mistakes, as well as your own. So how does an artwork affect you? Do you know why? Can you replicate it or maybe even do better at home? So then go home and try. You will never really paint the way somebody else does, and you shouldn't really paint exactly like someone else, but you will eventually develop your own style. The third way is learning from an artist who is alive and not kicking, but teaching. All artists have their own toolkit, they have their method and something they are best at, they are best known for. So live lessons with these people are the most effective way to get inspired, to stay motivated on a long term if it's a full course, and you can often receive personal feedback when you need it. Whether it's online or off, in person, they are great fun too, because you are in company of like-minded people and you don't feel so isolated and left to your own devices. Always wanted to do art, but wondered how to start? So coming soon is the Impressionist Art Experience of acrylic painting. Discover the secrets to a lifelong journey of freedom and creativity, hanging out with the great Impressionists, learning their studio secrets. Relax, have fun, and grow to your full potential as an artist. You can join the waiting list today. Email interested to art@susanapataki.com. Limited seats are available because I want to make sure that everybody gets enough attention and it's not too crowded.